G'day guys, Jake here, back with another video. It is halfway through my road trip around Australia and I decided to sit down and do my budget. So I wanted to share it with you guys. It's come in a little bit higher than I anticipated, but if you're considering solo camping and traveling in a car around Australia, then hopefully this video is helpful to you on what to expect as far as costs are concerned. So I've split up this video into two sections and I've created a little spreadsheet that I'm going to share in the description below, so feel free to use it. The first section is startup costs, so what it cost me to actually get started on this trip. And then the second section, or the second tab of the spreadsheet, is talking about ongoing costs. So that is all the costs that are ongoing month to month throughout my trip. And then, yeah, you'll be able to see how much it's cost me overall. So let's dive straight into it and go into the startup costs. The cost for the car, which was a 2013 Toyota Prius, which had about 70,000 Ks on it, was $21,000. That was imported from Japan. The lift kit was $741 delivered from the US, from Prius Off-Road. The car service and also the lift kit install was $990. 5% limo tinting on the Prius back windows was $200. And that is really all the modifications that I did to the car. So in total, modifications to the car and the car itself, you're looking at about 23 grand for all of that. The rest of the items here were required for me to car camp out of this car. I won't go into too much details as to why I got each of these items. I've explained that already in another video that I've posted on YouTube that I'll link up here. So the next item here is the Dometic fridge. Paid a lot for this one, $950 or thereabouts from BCF. The Clark rubber mattress was about $170. The office chair mat for the boot of the car, which has been an awesome purchase. I would 100% recommend getting that if you're thinking of car camping. It was only $25 on Amazon. Inverter cables and all the tools, the fuse, and everything that I needed to actually make the inverter setup in the back of my car was about $230, $234. And I bought that separately from Amazon, Jaycar and Bunnings. Bunnings, I got all the nuts and bolts. Jaycar, I got all the cables, and Amazon, I got the fuse. Car storage nets, they were only $18 off Amazon. Those are those things that you see on the top of my car that I use for when I'm going to sleep to put my Kobo reader in, my earplugs, wet wipes, that sort of thing. They're really, really handy. The inverter was $160, and that's just for getting 240 volt power out of the boot of the car. The 500 watt kettle that plugs into the inverter and gives me my coffee every day in the bush is $46.90, and that was off Amazon. The sleeping curtains for the Prius were $32 for the materials, and then my mum sewed it all together. So a little bit of labor in that isn't counted in this dollar figure. USB cable, I just bought this because I needed it. National Parks passes, it's arguable that this could go in the ongoing costs, but I've just included it here because they're a one-off cost. And that was $165 both for the NT pass and for the WA pass, which are non-negotiable items for me being a hiker. Tupperware I got from Bunnings, that was around $50, and then the car window shades were around $20 as well. The last four items here I already had or were gifted as a birthday present. So I didn't really include it in the cost here, but I've put the dollar values there as well in the description, just in case it interests you. The drone was $730, the e-reader was $300, and my two backpacks came to around $600. All right, so I'll unhide these at the top here. So you can see the total costs for starting up on this trip for me were around 25 grand. So not bad when you think about it. And also you could just sell these items down the track if you really wanted to and recoup a fair bit of the money, I reckon. All right, let's move on to ongoing costs. So for the ongoing costs, this includes things like insurance, my phone bill, gym bill, groceries, all that sort of stuff. So the first few items are pretty straightforward. So the comprehensive car insurance from Budget Direct, this is where I got my insurance, is $155 a month. Roadside assist was $90, also through Budget Direct for the 12 months, so $750 a month. My phone is an AMASIM 100 gig plan, which has actually worked pretty well. Everyone seems to keep saying that I need Telstra in this part of the world, but I found that I've got a decent amount of reception on this trip, and places that I go in national parks and stuff, the phone does cut out. So if you did want reception in those areas, then I'd probably recommend going with Telstra. It wasn't really a conscious choice. I already had a Maysim, so I just kept going with it. And you know, as you can see down below, I've got subscriptions to Amazon Prime and Netflix, so if I need to, I just download all my movies and stuff before I go into the bush, and then I've got something to watch at the campsites at night when the sun goes down. The gym is a pretty important one for me. It is where I get my showers on the trip when I'm car camping, and it's also nice to just have a gym membership and keep up with your health as you go. You're not doing much other activity when you're driving, so it's important to kind of keep that up, I think. So Snap Fitness is around $75 a month. Fuel costs, now we'll just quickly dive into this little table on the right hand side here. So I've been traveling for 49 days so far, which is exactly 7 weeks. I've traveled 9,400 kilometers and I've averaged 5.1 liters per 100 kilometers, and the average fuel price has been about $1.90 per liter. It's a little bit more expensive here in Exmouth, and it's been a little bit less expensive in other places like Perth. So that came to a total of $560 of fuel cost per month on this trip so far. I met a guy last night at the pub when we were out of the Whalebone Brewery here in Exmouth, and he said he's been averaging 19 litres per 100 kilometres for his setup. And so I would be looking at upwards of $2,000 on this trip if I had a different setup that was similar to his. So a decent savings, you know, $1,500 savings just from having the Prius on this trip. Next, let's talk about food. On this trip, I've been averaging about $70 a week in groceries, and that is usually enough for about 4 days a week of food. So for those 4 and a bit weeks in a month, at $70 a week, that's about $300 a month in groceries. Cafe coffee, when I am working during the week, I will typically have a cafe coffee, and that's usually about 3 coffees a week, and that comes out to about $58 in coffees per month. I'll typically eat out at a restaurant 3 days a week on any given week, and I'll put in $40 a meal, so $120 a week in restaurant meals, which comes to about $520 a month. Alcohol, I don't typically drink that much alcohol. I think I've allowed 4 pints a week, so maybe 2 pints in a sitting, maybe 1 pint in a sitting, but on average probably 4 pints a week, and that comes to $208 per month in alcohol. Subscriptions I talked about before, it's about $22 a month for Amazon Prime and Netflix, and I just use that to download movies before I go out into the bush that I can watch when I'm at the campsite. Alright, lodging. This one is an interesting one. I typically will stay 4 nights a month in hostels, so that's 2 nights a week, and then I'll rotate between hostels, Airbnbs, and hotels and campsites. I'll stay in a hostel 2 weeks out of the month, and I'll stay for usually 2 nights a week. And the cost of the hostels, I've averaged about $40 a night, so $160 a month on hostels. Airbnbs, I'll stay in 2 nights a week on a given week, and I'll only typically stay there 1 week a month. So the total there is $260 a month for Airbnbs. Hotels, same deal, usually around $140 a night, and I stay in them 2 nights a month, which comes out to $280 a month. Now, campsites. Campsites, I will stay in 5 nights a week, typically. 2 of those nights might be at a paid campsite, and 3 of those nights will probably be at free campsites or rest stops or something like that. So for those paid campsites, those 2 paid campsites a week, I've averaged $15 a night for those. So 8 nights out of a month, I'll be paying $15 a night, and that comes to about $120 for the month. And the other times I'm just staying in free campsites, so I don't have to worry about paying, which is good. Next, we've got laundry. The Airbnbs that I stay in usually have some sort of laundry facility. Sometimes the hotels and also the hostels have it as well. So when I'm talking about laundry, I'm talking about coin laundry, and I will typically do that about 3 times a month, and that's only about $10 in coins to get a load of washing done and a load of drying done. On this trip so far, I have done a fair few sightseeing activities, but it's been typically the cheaper kind. So aquariums, museums, there was the dolphin experience in Monkey Mia, which was pretty cool. That was $15 entry. So really, I'm not spending too much money on sightseeing activities. Let's expand the top here and have a look at what the totals are for the ongoing budget. As you can see, the food is by far the most costly category for me. Lodging is a close second, and then transportation after that. Hey guys, Jake here from the future. I'm currently in Karratha and I've almost finished editing the video, and I kind of watched the outro that I filmed in Exmouth and I wasn't quite happy with it. So I wanted to refilm it here. 25 grand for startup costs and about 3 grand ongoing was just what I've done in the last 7 weeks. I'm not happy per se with the 3 grand, and look, it's given me an opportunity to revisit my expenses. The food that I've bought today is a lot cheaper. I'm planning on not doing so many restaurants. Some of the accommodation can be a lot cheaper. I might stay in hostels a little bit more. If you can make that 2 to 3 grand that I've outlined in the video from 2 or 3 or 4 days a week, and it's remote and you can travel, then you're essentially traveling for free, and it's a pretty cool way to travel. I certainly enjoy it, and look, this is just informational, so everyone's going to have their own way of traveling. Feel free to use the spreadsheet that I put in the description below to your own devices and change things as you see fit. But yeah, if this video has been helpful to you, then give it a like, and if you want to join me on the rest of my journey, subscribe, and other than that, I'll see you in the next video.